Chapter 8. At the sign of the spy-glass. When I had done breakfasting, the squire gave me a note addressed to John Silver. At the sign of the Spy-glass, so at the Spy-glass pub, the Spy-glass Inn, and told me I should easily find the place by following the line of the docks and keeping a bright lookout for a little tavern with a large brass telescope for a sign. I set off, overjoyed at this opportunity to see some more of the ships and seamen, and picked my way among a great crowd of people and carts and bales, for the dock was now at its busiest, until I found the tavern in question. Now that is fortunate that it's in the biggest port in England, the only pub on the seafront, on the dock, with a telescope for a sign. It was a bright enough little place of entertainment. The sign was newly painted. The windows had neat red curtains. The floor was cleanly sanded. Sounds lovely, actually. There was a street on each side, and an open door on both, which made the large, low room pretty clear to see in spite of clouds of tobacco smoke. No health and safety back in 1769. It'd be like, well, any pub until, 2007? I remember that. The smoking areas used to be bigger than the non-smoking areas. In like pubs that did food. In a weird way, I miss it, but we won't get. Don't smoke, kids. Don't do it. The customers were mostly seafaring men. What a surprise. And they talked so loudly that I hung at the door, almost afraid to enter. Yeah, basically, we've got a whole pub full of, just full of Billy Boneses, haven't we, really? I mean, it's bad enough. You've got one just sat in your pub singing aggressive sea shanties all day and all night, driving your parents spare, driving one of your parents to death. And then you've got a whole pub full of them. As I was waiting, a man came out of a side room, and at a glance, I was sure he must be Long John. Long John. Why do I pronounce it like that? Why not Long John? Because he's Long John. Long means tall. In this old parlance, they use long to mean tall. Oh, he's long means he's tall. So he's Tall John. He's Tall John Silver. He's Long John Silver. Oh, here he is. Little John or Long John? Long John. Long John. I was sure he must be Long John. His left leg was cut off, close by the hip. Beware the man, the one-legged man, Jim. Here's the fourpenny bit for the one-legged man. That's a flashback. He's not written that. His leg was cut off close by the hip, and under the left shoulder he carried a crutch, which he managed with wonderful dexterity, hopping about on it like a bird. He was very tall, long, and strong, long and strong, with a... I don't know what else made me laugh so much. With a face as big as a ham. Plain and pale, but intelligent and smiling. A big ham face. Indeed, he seemed in the most cheerful spirits, whistling as he moved about among the tables, with a merry word, all right, or a slap on the shoulder, for the more favoured of his guests. Now, to tell you the truth, from the very first mention of Long John in Squire Trelawney's letter, I had taken a fear in my mind that he might prove to be the very one-legged sailor whom I had watched for so long at the old Bembo. But one look at the man before me was enough. I had seen the captain, 15 men on the dead man's chest, and Black Dog, all right, Bill, where am you? And the blind man Pew, we're doomed, Captain Mannering. And I thought I knew what a buccaneer was like. A very different creature, according to me, from this clean and pleasant-tempered landlord. plucked up courage at once, crossed the threshold, and walked right up to the man where he stood, propped on his crutch, talking to a customer. "Mr. Silver, sir?" I asked, holding out the note. "Here he is. Here he is. Here's our Walter White, our Tony Soprano." "Yes, my lad," said he. "Such is my name, to be sure, and who may you be?" And then, as he saw the squire's letter, he seemed to give me something almost... He seemed to me to give something almost like a start. "Oh!" said he, quite loud, and offering his hand. "I see, you're our new cabin boy. Pleased I am to see you." And he took my hand in his large, firm grasp. Just then, one of the customers at the far side rose suddenly and made for the door. It was close by him, and he was out in the street in a moment, but his hurry had attracted my notice. He'd been like... But then Jim's gone... And I recognised him at a glance. It was the tallow-faced man wanting 2 fingers who had first come to the Admiral Benbow. "He's in this pub!" "Oh!" I cried. "Stop him! It's Black Dog!" "I don't care 2 coppers who he is," cried Silver, "but he hasn't paid his score. Harry, run and catch him." One of the others who was nearest the door leapt up. Harry, like that, leapt up and started in pursuit. "If he were Admiral Hawke, he'd pay his score." "If he were Admiral Hawke, he shall pay his score," cried Silver. So it doesn't matter how important he is. Even the immortal Admiral Hawke. And he's still got to pay for his bows in the pub. "If he were Admiral Hawke, he shall pay his score," cried Silver. And then, relinquishing my hand, "Who did you say he was?" he asked. "What did you say?" "Dog, sir," said I. "Has Mr. Trelawney not told you of the Buccaneers? He was one of them." "So," cried Silver. "In my house. Ben, run and help Harry." One of those swabs, was he? "Was that you drinking with him, Morgan? Step up here." The man, who we called Morgan, an old grey-haired, mahogany-faced sailor, came forward pretty sheepishly, rolling his quid. So again, I think quid is like chewing tobacco. I think like a little lump of chewing tobacco. Like that. That's ASMR as well, isn't it? I don't even want to listen back to that. Awful. Rolling his quid. "Now, Morgan," said Long John very sternly, you never clapped your eyes on that Black Dog before, did you? No. Morgan. What's Morgan? Morgan's a Welsh name, isn't it? "Not I, sir," said Morgan with a salute. "Not I, sir. Not I, sir," said Morgan with a salute. "You didn't know his name, did you?" "No, sir." "By the powers, Tom Morgan, it's as good for you," exclaimed the landlord. "If you'd been mixed up with the like of that, you'd never have put another foot in my house, you may lay to that. And what was he saying to you?" I don't really know, sir. Don't really know, sir." Not a talkative fella. Morgan doesn't say much. "I don't really know, sir. Don't really know, sir," answered Morgan. "Do you call that a head on your shoulders, or a blessed dead eye?" cried Long John. "Don't rightly know, don't you? Perhaps you don't happen to rightly know who was speaking to you. Perhaps. Come now, what was he doing? Voyagers, captains, ships, pipe up, what was he saying?" "We was... he's trying to... coming up... It seems to me like he's trying to come up with something on the spot here, Morgan. We were talking to keel hauling," answered Morgan. "Keel hauling, was you?" Keel hauling. We all know what keel hauling is, yeah? Keel hauling is when you when you tie a rope around... You strip a man, tie a rope around his ankles or his hands, and you throw him over the side of a ship, and then you drag him with the rope under the underside of the ship. So the bottom of the ship, which would be sort of wood coated in tar and covered in probably barnacles, little shell creatures, would just scrape your back like that. Who did this? Pirates, you say? The British Navy. God save the King. And then, as Morgan rolled back to his seat... Oh no, I missed out a bit, because he didn't just say, "Keel hauling." He said, "Keel hauling, was you? And a mighty suitable thing too, you may lay to that. Get back to your place for a lubber, Tom." And then as Morgan rolled back to his seat, Silver added to me in a confidential whisper that was very flattering, I thought. Again, that's Jim saying that, not me. That was very flattering, I thought. "He's quite an honest man, Tom Morgan, only stupid. And now," he ran on again aloud, "let's see. Black Dog, no, I don't know the name, not I. Yet I kind of think, yes, I've seen the swab. He used to come in here with a blind beggar, he used." "That he did, you may be sure," said I. "I knew that blind man too, his name was Pew." "We're doomed, Captain Mannering, we're doomed." "It was?" cried Silver, now quite excited. "Pew, that but his name for certain. God, he looked a shark, he did. If we run down this Black Dog now, there'll be news for Captain Trelawney. Ben's a good runner. Few seamen run better than Ben. He should run him down, hand over hand, by the powers. He talked to keel hauling, did he? I'll keel haul him." All the time he was jerking out these phrases, he was stumping up and down the tavern on his crutch, slapping tables with his hand. I'm fucking sick of this. Fucking blind Pew coming in here, Black Dog, and all these pirates coming in here making trouble. Bang, 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 everywhere. Bang, 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 bang. Slapping all the tables with his hand, giving such a show of excitement as would have convinced an old Bailey judge or a Bow Street runner. My suspicions had been thoroughly reawakened on finding Black Dog at the spyglass, and I watched the cook narrowly. But he was too deep, and too ready, and too clever for me. And by the time the two men had come back out of breath and confessed they'd lost track of the guy, in a crowd, and been scolded like thieves, I would have gone bail for the innocence of Long John Silver. So he would have very much attested to the innocence of Long John Silver. "See here now, Hawkins," said he. "Here's a blessed hard thing on a man like me now, ain't it? There's Captain Trelawney, what's he to think? Here I have this confounded son of a Dutchman sitting in my own house, drinking of my own rum. Here you comes and tells me of it plain, and here I let him give us all the slip before my blessed deadlights. Now, Hawkins, you do me justice with the captain. You're a lad you are, but you're smart as paint. I seen that when you first come in. Now, here it is. What could I do with this old timber I hobble on? Huh? When I was an A.B. Master Mariner, I'd have come up alongside of him hand over hand and broached him into a brace of old shakes. I would, but now..." And then, all of a sudden, he stopped, and his jaw dropped, as though he'd remembered something. Can't really drop my jaw, I can open my mouth awful wide, but I can't. So he's gone, "Now you, for God's sake, don't say nothing to the captain, please." "The score!" he burst out. "3 goes of rum! Why, shiver me timbers if I hadn't forgotten me score." And falling on a bench, he laughed until the tears ran down his cheeks. I couldn't help joining, and we laughed together, peal after peal, until the tavern rang again. So now they're all going, the score! Everyone in the pub, the score! The score! Why, what a precious old sea calf I am, he said at last, wiping his cheeks. You and me should get on well, Hawkins, for I'll take my Davy, I shall be rated ship's boy. But come, now, stand by to go about, this won't do. Duty's duty, messmates. I'll put on me old wickcock tat, step along of you to Captain Trelawney, and report this here affair, for mind you, it's serious, young Hawkins. And neither you nor me's come out of it with what I should make so bold as to call credit. Nor you neither, says you. Not smart, and none of the pair of us smart, but dash my buttons. Oh, that was a good one about me score. And he began to laugh again. Ha 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 ha. And that so heartily that though I did not see the joke as he did it, I was again obliged to join him in his mirth. What is the joke there? What, he hadn't paid his tab? He's like, right, that's it, get him, absolute. Oh my God, he owes me 25 quid. Ah, it was different times. It was different times. Different things was funny. Different things was funny. On our little walk along the quays, he made himself the most interesting companion, telling me about the different ships that we passed by, their rig, tonnage and nationality, explaining the work that was going forward, how one was discharging, another taking in cargo, and a third making ready for sea, and every now and then telling me some little anecdote of ships or seamen, or repeating a nautical phrase till I'd learned it perfectly. I began to see that here was one of the best possible shipmates. When we got to the inn, the squire and Dr. Livesey, our old pals, were seated together, finishing a quart of ale with a toast in it. I don't know what that is. Quart of ale with a toast in it? What's that, like a chaser? Anybody got any knowledge of 18th century pubs that could help us out? You'd think of, that's the sort of thing I really would have thought I'd have known myself. An ale with a toast in it. I'm assuming it's not just a big floating piece of bread, but you genuinely never know in these times. They used to do all sorts in them pubs. Anybody? Actual toast, says Bauble Rob. Well, do you know what? I think, yeah, fine. They've got a big pint of beer, a big, it's a quart, so like a big, pitcher. They've got a pitcher, lads, and they've got a big piece of toast floating in it. That's what we're going to do. Would it be the foam, says Green to 24680. Maybe it is the foam. I kind of like the idea that there's a big piece of Warburtons in there though, so I'm probably gonna go with that. Bit of toast, bit of Marmite, floated in the beer. It's nice to think of them quaint days when two horrible old rich old Englishmen could drink a big jug full of bread. Could we resurrect Dash My Buttons, says Lockdown Ginger. Hang on. Here comes Super Vigilante with some information. A bit of spiced toast was usually put in the bottom of a cup of ale or wine to flavour it. Well, dash my buttons. Thank you very much for that, both of you. Lockdown Ginger and Super Vigilante, thank you very much for clearing that up. When we got to the inn, the squire and Dr. Livesey were seated together finishing a quart of ale with a toast in it, before they should go aboard the schooner on a visit of inspection, getting nice and pissed up before they go and check out this boat that they've spent possibly the 1769 equivalent of millions on. Just getting nice and pissed up. Dash my buttons was apparently the nearest my granddad got to cussing, says Roly-Poly. Well, I wish my granddad had minded his language in the same way. How do we spice our toast, says Bulbul Rob. Just marmalade? Good point. How do you have spiced toast? Here's a recipe for spiced toast. And I'm going to do it on the fly, and you can tell me how nice it is. You're going to go a piece of toast, a piece of bread, thick piece of bread if you can, maybe a crust. Hot cross bun, says Super Vigilante. Yeah, these are the lines that I'm thinking along. Or a bun. Get like a nice fresh bun. Get 2 eggs in a bowl. Crack them. Beat them. Nutmeg. I was literally about to say nutmeg, Super Vigilante. A little bit of cinnamon, maybe. And cinnamon again. So we're thinking along the same line, Super Vigilante. I'm going to go... Do you know what? I would go... a little bit of... very, 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 very finely chopped dried cranberry. I'd throw that in there. Yeah, ginger, honey, great ideas. Oh, man. Is anything more going to be over egging it? Keep the same amount of eggs in there, wasn't there? Oh, what else could be a bit of spiced toast? No, do you know what? I think all them. So what do we say? Nutmeg, cinnamon, honey, ginger. Do we want the cranberry in there? Is there like powdered? You can't get that, no. I want a bit of fruitiness in there. Because I don't want raisins in there. But I want something that gives it that tartness. Yeah, I think let's go cranberry. Super Vigilante. I would not put this in beer, says Bulbul Rob. I think you're closing yourself. Because if you go to the Birmingham Christmas markets, you can have all this sort of thing. All these like sweet spiced beers and stuff and sweet spice. Do you know what they used to do? I know they used to do this. They used to spice ale. They'd put spice in ale, and then they'd literally get the hot poker out the fire and just plunge the poker into the beer. Obviously, don't do that, because that, my friends, is carcinogenic. But it would obviously, heat the beer up really, really fast and foam it up really, really nicely. And you'd have this really hot, spiced, old, I guess, dark English ale, like dark, bitter. This is a combo, what we've just come up with here. We've basically come up with hot cross bun as toast in a stout, maybe? In a big pint of Guinness? No, that's too rich. I think a nice dark bitter. A nice dark ale. A mild. Maybe in a mild, so you can have a big picture of it. So you're dipping your bread in this mixture we've made with the egg and the spices and the honey and stuff and the dry crumb. And then you're frying that in a pan until it goes golden. Get that nice sort of golden yellow brown sort of crunch crust on it. And then you could do it in a porter, says Super Vigilante. A porter's a great idea. Chop that up into little, get it good, solid. I'd say do it in a pan and then maybe even put it under the grill. So it's so you're not burning it, but you're keeping it nice and, crunchy. Cut that into very small squares. Get that in your beer. And it will be horrible. No, it might be really nice. It's your tea and your drink, says Lockdown Ginger. Exactly. This isn't even Treasure Island anymore. This is Food Tube. Jamie Oliver's Food Tube. I've lost that. But what was happening? Oh yeah, Squire Trelawney and Dr. Livesey are getting this down them, drinking their big spicy bready beer, getting nice and pissed up before they go and inspect their ship. Long John told the story from first to last with a great deal of spirit and the most perfect truth. That's how it were now, weren't it, Hawkins? He would say now and again, and I would always bear him entirely out. So he's always, well, that's exactly it, Longer. Wasn't that what happened, though? And he went running out. I sent Ben and Harry, and then Tom Morgan comes up, and he doesn't fucking say a word. He's mumbling like that. Isn't that right, Hawk? And he's absolutely right, Squire. Very good. That's the Squire. By Jove the Blighter. Like that. By Jove the Blighter. All the whole way through. Gotcha. Dr. Livesey presumably going, oh dear, oh my, goodness gracious, oh dear, oh. Well, you get the idea. The two gentlemen regretted that Black Dog had got away, but we all agree that there was nothing to be done. And after he'd been complimented, Long John took up his crutch and departed. See you later, everybody. Lovely to meet you again, Jim. All right, all the best. Have a good inspection of that ship now, Squire Trelawney. You gentlemen look after yourselves. All the very best, sir. Oh, tucking his forelock like that, but all with his cocktail. All the very best to you. You gentlemen have a good afternoon. And you come by mine any time you want to drink. Anything like that. I'm looking forward to setting sail with you. All the best. All the best, gentlemen. All the best. And then he's off like that. Heisenberg. All hands aboard by 4 this afternoon! Shouted the Squire after him. Oh, so he hasn't actually fucking gone yet. He's done all that, but he's actually still... Oh, Long John! Yes, what was it? All hands aboard by 4 this afternoon! Shouted the Squire after him. Oh, aye, sir! Cried the cook in the passage. Aye, sir! And he's gone now. Well, Squire, said Dr. Livesey, I don't put. How do posh people say put? I don't put. I don't put much. It's because there's a much there that's confusing me. I don't put much. I don't put much faith in your discoveries as a general thing, but I will say this. John Silver suits me. He's won their approval. He's won all of their approval. The man's a... Not again. The man's a perfect trump, declared the Squire. He's always describing people as a perfect trump, this lad. I'm not going to keep making Donald Trump references. Can we just accept that he means a pump, a fart? Because that's loads funnier. He's a perfect trump. And also, you imagine that the Squire does a lot of perfect trumps, because I imagine his diet is mainly, as we know, just beer full of bread and beef and pigeon pie, really like carby, meaty, flatulent things. This absolute old English git. This one. Well, a perfect trump. Oh, will you stop doing those perfect trumps? Sorry, I'll not be stopped. England. And now, added the doctor, after all that. Red-faced, as Grinty Tooth said. Of course, red-faced. He's constipated, I imagine, all the time. I bet the Squire has never touched a fruit or veg. And now, added the doctor, Jim may come on board with us, may he not? To be sure he may, says Squire. Take your hat, Jim Hawkins, and we'll see the ship. End of chapter.